Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to the Racing Post Football Postcast. I'm Mark Langdon. In respect of Ajax's brilliant win away to Juventus on Tuesday, we, like Ajax, have packed the studio full of youthful exuberance. I've got Liam Flynn and Aaron Ashley from the Racing Post Sports Desk, and also on the line from Paddy Power, we've got Emmett O'Keefe. Right, there's plenty to get through, but seeing as it's your debut, Aaron, we should probably introduce you to the listening and watching millions. So, which football team do you support?
I'm a Northampton Town fan.
Cobblers. He only said that because the sports editor supports Northampton and he wanted the job. Favourite alcoholic beverage?
That'd be a pint of Amstel.
I thought he was going to say something pineapple then.
No.
Okay, pint of Amstel. Well, that's solid enough. And what would be your best bet do you think you've put up this season?
That'd have to be James Norwood. Tipped him up and backed him for Golden Boot in League 2 start of the season.
What sort of price is that?
40-1.
Well, there you go.
We'll 7 clear, 4 games to go. So
okay, well that's solid enough form. I think it's fair to say. So, Emmett, I'll start with you, please. If you could give us some Champions League prices. What a dramatic midweek it was.
Absolutely. So Barcelona 6-4, Liverpool 5-2, Ajax 4-1, and Tottenham 4-1.
Okay, right. So you're struggling to. Have you got to qualify prices for the semis, or have you not got round to that yet?
No, we do. So we're Tottenham 10-11, Ajax 10-11, and then Barcelona 8-13 and Liverpool 5-4.
Okay, Liam, we may as well start with that Tottenham Ajax game. A dramatic set of fixtures. Both came through really against the odds. I mean, how do you see that semi-final?
Well, where do you start? I mean, that City game with Spurs was absolutely pulsating from start to finish. I think VAR spot on with both decisions. Tottenham over the 2 legs deservedly go through to semi-finals. And then, like you said before that game, I thought Ajax's display against Juventus was probably one of the best team performances I've seen in all competitions this season. I thought their passing football was just brilliant. They cut Juventus open at times. I think it depends. I think Ajax definitely have a real shot. I think the big question with Tottenham is, coming off the back of that game against Manchester City, will they underestimate Ajax? Will they think now they've got past probably the biggest hurdle they will face in the Champions League? Is there any chance complacency would set in? But I think the nature of Mauricio Pochettino, the nature of Tottenham not used to having delved this far into the competition, I don't think that will be too much of an issue for them. So it's incredibly difficult semi-finals to call with what we've seen in the last 16 and quarter-finals so far. But if I were to go for one thing, I think there'll definitely be goals from both these teams. I think having got to this stage of the competition, they're both teams that have played without fear throughout the Champions League this season, so I can see goals across both legs. Okay,
Aaron, who would you make favourites? No Heung-min Son for the first leg.
that is a worry, but I'm still a bit surprised they're going off Pickham, to be honest. I would have had Spurs marginal favourites even so. I think that Ajax are happy to play to their strengths. They're happy to, but I think that will play to the way they play, the attacking style. I think that will suit Tottenham. So for me, I'd still have Tottenham favourites. I wouldn't have them Pickham. Okay,
Emmett, I mean, what did you make of Spurs' performance, Ajax's performance, and the fact that you go pick them? Because obviously, I mean, Ajax were like about 200-1 at the start of the group stage. They were still 100-1 at the knockout phase. I mean, it must have been a difficult semi-final to price up, really.
Absolutely, yeah. I saw some other, one of the other firms I think went out with Ajax favourites, slight favourites, but then Spurs were backed in. I think it's a tough one to call. The only thing I would say is that if Spurs line up with Dele Alli and Victor Wanyama in midfield, I think they're in trouble. I think they were in that second half. City were all over them, and I felt like City were going to possibly score at least one more goal. I think Spurs, if Harry Winks could get back for that game, I think that would be vital. Obviously, Harry Kane likely not being fit for this tie obviously affects the price as well in Ajax's favour. And my gut feeling would be that I think Spurs will struggle to contain Ajax's passing game, and I think Son not being out for the first leg is a huge blow as well. So I'd probably have Ajax slight favourites.
Okay, so I disagree. I'm as a Spurs fan, I'm just bloody happy to be there. I tell you, it was the most exhausting 96 minutes of my life, I think. I'm pretty sure I needed some of Glenn Hoddle's heart attack pills at the end. I mean, it was just incredible, that VAR decision. I mean, the lows of just seeing Raheem Sterling sort of celebrating and thinking that Spurs have done it again, found a way to lose, you know, a match that you know, they were so close to qualifying, and then for it to be overturned. I'm still struggling to explain it. While all that was going on, of course, at the Etihad, Liverpool were cruising, past Porto. I think I fancy Liverpool at the prices. Have you got a strong opinion on this one?
I totally agree with you. I think Liverpool should be favourites. I think I've watched Barcelona a few times this year in the league and in the Champions League, and then watched both legs against Man United. And despite them beating United comfortably over the two legs, I wasn't actually that impressed with them. I think, if even on the game during the week, two of the goals were from Messi and Coutinho were incredible goals, both from outside the box, and then like a terrible mistake from De Gea. So it wasn't if they were cutting United to pieces. And in the first leg, they created very little as well. And just to me, they look like quite a slow team. Like they don't have much counter-attacking threat with the front three of Coutinho, Suarez, and Messi. And then their midfield again is quite old as well, apart from Arthur, like with Rakitic and Busquets are 30 plus as well. I think Liverpool's the pace, athleticism is all wrong for them. I think Suarez won't get any change out of Van Dijk. I think Liverpool have the mobility and the counter-attacking threat to really hurt Barcelona.
Okay, there's 2 votes for Liverpool, Aaron.
Yeah, I completely agree with you and Emmett. I think Liverpool, they can win this tie. I think if you look at even like Rashford's pace in both those legs, they did cause them problems. And I mean, the quality that Liverpool have up front, Salah, Mane, I just think, it's going to be too much for them. I do fancy Liverpool.
Okay, Liam, full house for the outsiders?
I mean, I seem to talk about Barcelona every time I come on these podcasts. I fancied them for the Champions League from the very beginning. If any game is going to trip them up, it would be this one, as we said about that. Those 2 aging midfielders, I think, could struggle a little bit with Liverpool. I'd probably still have to edge towards Barcelona slightly, as I have done throughout this competition. I just think that with obviously the fact that they're the domestic competitions, strolling towards that La Liga title, they don't have to exert themselves domestically as much as Liverpool might have to. Obviously, I think for me in the title run, in Liverpool's toughest game away to Newcastle, I think it's sandwiched between those 2 legs with Barcelona. I think also the form that Lionel Messi is in at the moment, probably the form of his life, which given the player he is, that's quite some statement. So I think over the 2 ties, I mean, I'd fancy Barcelona but it's a very, very difficult one to call.
Does it feel like the final almost before the final?
Yeah, it does, and I certainly think, obviously bookmakers agree that the winner of this tie will be the winner of the Champions League, but you don't want to rule anybody out from what we've seen this season. You wouldn't even be surprised to see Ajax lift it the way things have gone.
Or Spurs.
Or Spurs, I think any of those 4 would fancy their chances. It's such an open, two very open semi-finals.
Okay, well, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Just want to talk about the dynamic, maybe just from a Manchester City point of view now, because of course the quadruple's over. I'm sure you're glad about that, Emmett. But how do you bet the Premier League title race, and then we'll maybe have a little discussion about Man City.
Sure. So at the moment, we're 4 to 5 a City to win the league. Liverpool are evens. We also have a few just specials about to win, both teams to win their remaining Premier League games. So we're 5 to 6 on Liverpool to win all their remaining Premier League games, and 9 to 4 on City to win all their remaining Premier League games.
Okay, well, Aaron, I mean, if we have a look at what City have got coming up, probably the 2 hardest ones are next. It's Tottenham again, followed by Manchester United, and then of course they've got Leicester at home, Burnley away, and Brighton away. Not necessarily in that order, but that's how they finish up at Brighton. Do you think that the result on Wednesday is going to impact on their title bid, and B, do you think they'll win all 5 of their remaining matches?
I think it's one of those with you've got so much character in that side. They are true champions, bounce back, and I do expect City to bounce back and get the title done now. I think Guardiola, they'll be obviously disappointed to go out to an English side again in the Champions League over 2 legs, but I think that I do expect them to come back stronger, and I do fancy to win all those games, to be honest. I think Liverpool win all those games, and I think City will too.
Okay, Liam, do you see either team slipping up from here until the end of the season?
I think City are the more likely, obviously, as the prices suggest. With those, I think, as we'll talk about in a moment, but I think the Tottenham game, I think they should be okay with. But that trip to Old Trafford, I know United haven't been particularly great lately, but it's going to be a very, very feisty game, and I think if they're going to drop points, it could be in that one. Obviously, the two games for me that it boils down to, as I said, are the Manchester United, Manchester City game and Liverpool's trip to Newcastle. I think they're the two most decisive games.
So you're going for Man City to win the league then, Aaron?
Yeah.
Liam?
Again, I've said it. I've said Liverpool, and I'm going to stick with them purely on the basis of City having the tougher running.
Okay, Emmett, how about you? I mean, there's a couple of real clutch wins for Liverpool when they beat Tottenham and Chelsea, and also went away to Southampton. Are they going to get the rub of the green somewhere in City to drop points? It'd be absolutely remarkable if they got sort of 90 odd and didn't win it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think they probably would have they could end up with the third highest points total of all time in the Premier League and still lose the league. I fancy City to slip up. Even obviously the game at Old Trafford is the most likely one, but even like they have actually struggled with Burnley away in years past. I don't think that's a complete gimme. And then even Leicester at home, I think like Leicester have a very, very good away record. I think it's conceivable they could drop points in those games. So I think there's 4 games where they could conceivably drop points, and I can see, and I'm pretty confident they will. And like especially the game at Old Trafford will be their 8th game in 26 days. And obviously they have a brilliant squad, but I think that might start to tell as well.
Okay, so there's hope yet for Liverpool. Just since we did the last show, of course, Arsenal beat Watford 1-0. 10 men for a long time, Watford, and it still wasn't particularly pretty from Arsenal away from home, but they did get a clean sheet. How has that impacted on the top 4 betting, Emmett?
So we've Tottenham 1-4, Arsenal 1-2, Chelsea 13-8, and Man United 11-4 to make the top 4.
Okay, anyone in the studio fancy an upset of one of the North London sides to miss out?
Not for me, no. I think the price are right, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
Emmett, do you give Chelsea or United much hope at those prices?
I'm a little biased, but towards United, but I could see Arsenal slipping up just because their away record is so poor, and I thought they were pretty dire against Watford despite winning. Like Watford could have pushed them back and pressed them. And if Watford had a better striker than Andre Gray on the night, I think they could easily have got at least a point.
And they've got a lot of these hard away games still to go.
Still to come, I think.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think they've Wolves away, Leicester away as well. So I can see them slipping up in some of those games.
Okay, and also the following night, absolutely thrilling game, really, in terms of what the result actually meant. Because Cardiff beat Brighton. They've narrowed that gap to just a couple of points now. So, Emmett, some prices, please, on the relegation, and also your thoughts on how you see it going now.
So Cardiff 1-3 for relegation, Brighton 5-2, and then 200 to 1 bar.
Yeah, I mean, do you fancy Brighton? I mean, 5-2, it just feels a little bit big to me now.
I kind of agree. I think that as well that there's been some rumblings that their performances would indicate this too, that the players have kind of fallen out of love with Chris Hughton's methods, and I haven't seen the highlights of the game during the week.
I've seen the whole game. Goodness, yeah, you don't need to see the highlights.
You're a brave man, but just reading the match report, they only seem to have one good chance with Glenn Murray header at the end, which I think hit the woodwork. Yeah, but that was it. And then I watched the highlights of the Bournemouth game, and Bournemouth's first goal looked like a goal he scored in 5-a-side, where you've kind of a complete overlap and is passing to each other in the box. And they looked pretty disorganised and a shadow of the team, kind of organised, hard to beat team they had, but under Houghton. And then that tackle from Narkar was ridiculous as well. In a game you absolutely need to be fighting for a point to get it sent off like that. So I think it's very hard to recommend Brighton at the moment.
I mean, really, Brighton have got one, what you'd say, winnable game left, which is Newcastle at home. Aaron, are Cardiff going to get the necessary points? I mean, they've got Fulham away and Palace at home, and then either side of that is Liverpool at home and United away. So can they get something from those two middle games?
I think they can. I think there's a bit of juice in that Brighton price to go down. I think, it's 5 games now, 5 defeats, failed to score. Glenn Murray, only 3 goals in 17 games now. They're clearly not creating the chances they were last season for him, because he's a natural finisher. He's going to score goals at whatever level. So, yeah, that would be a real worry for me. And then Tottenham away, Arsenal away, and City at home, 3 of those final fixtures. Yeah, I'm worried for them. I'd be worried.
Okay, and Liam?
Yeah, I agree. It's a big price, I think. I also thought Cardiff were about 1-20 to go down before that Brighton game, which I thought was a bit absurd, really, given that we knew that game was coming up and we knew the form that Brighton are in, and if Cardiff took 3 points from that, as they did, it completely changed the complexion of that relegation battle. We've said about their running is horrible, and at the prices, I'd definitely be on Brighton. I think the only thing to consider with that is have seen a return, I think, of their two sort of main creative outlets, Solly March and Pascal Gross coming back, which is a boost for them. But looking at the run-ins, I'd definitely fancy that 5-2.
I suppose really big game for Brighton coming up at Wolves at the weekend. But the weekend action starts with a game that we've just seen. It can't be as good. It just simply can't. Manchester City against Tottenham, Part 3. Emmett, has the prices moved from Wednesday night, or is it pretty solid market?
Pretty solid. I think it might have moved a little bit in City's favour. So at the moment we're City 1-4. The draw 5-1 and Tottenham 9-1.
What's your best bet?
We've a market on site where you can back a team to be leading after 10 minutes. I think, given how short City are, we're not sure how they'll bounce back from a kind of a crushing defeat like that. I'm reluctant to back them in the match markets. But they're 7-2 to be leading after 10 minutes. That's clicked in 4 of their last 7 league games, and obviously we saw the glut of early goals last night as well, so I think that's probably the way I'd go. I think it's hard to see Spurs. Obviously, we saw like Oliver Skip warming up when Sissoko got injured, and they had to bring on Llorente because he was kind of the only senior kind of experienced player they had. They won't be able to rotate their squad at all, whereas City will be able to bring in Fernandinho, Sané, maybe Jesus, Otamendi, etc. So I think it's definitely advantage City.
Okay, Aaron, what's your best bet for this game?
I do expect City to bounce back. I expect Sterling still to start, even though what happened. But he netted a brace last night. In the league meeting last season, he also netted twice. And I think since March the 9th, he's played 10 games for club and country, and he scored 12 goals. I think he's just absolutely flying at the moment, and I'd want to be with him first goal scorer each way, I think, at fours. Okay,
he had Trippier on toast, really. He obviously scored the hat-trick goal as well that was disallowed for that marginal offside. Tottenham, a bit surprised really, because they've travelled back to London via plane on Wednesday night, and they're going back, I assume, on Friday. I thought they may have just stayed up in Manchester. Do Tottenham even care about this game? Obviously they do for top 4, but it's going to be very difficult, surely, for Pochettino and the players to focus on sort of the more mundane matters when they know they can lose this game and still the top 4 is in their hands.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there'll probably be a bit of a psychological hangover from the midweek game. I'd go for Man City and under 4.5 goals. I think that the context of this game is so different to that Champions League one, in which obviously the onus was on Manchester City to go and score a hatful of goals to give themselves a chance. And in this game, they don't need to do that. Their rhythm is going to be less disrupted, and as a consequence, there'll be less space for Tottenham to exploit. So I think it will be, funnily enough, I think it could be quite low scoring compared to the other night. City have won 6 of their 8 meetings against top 6 opposition this season. The anomalous result in that, the 6-0 win over Chelsea. Other than that, that was the only game to feature over 4.5 goals. So I think they're quite good at grinding out wins in these bigger matches, and I think they'll do so at the weekend. Okay,
I think I'm going to go split the stakes 3-1 and 4-1 City. We saw that Son and Lucas, if they play, have definitely got the pace to hurt City on the break, and Son's one of those players that can just keep going. He never seems to get tired. It's just in midfield, Wanyama, sort of the only Kenyan that hasn't got any energy really. He couldn't run, and he was absolutely exhausted. Sissoko got injured. They're definitely limited, I think, in that midfield area, and that could be the problem with De Bruyne, just in absolutely magnificent form. I think the game matters more to City. So
they have conceded twice in 6 of their last 7 away trips, 2 or more. So again, I'd worry that going through that match, going for that Champions League match, how are they going to be prepared for this? I'm not sure.
No, it may even decide that it's a game to bring in Davinson Sanchez and maybe even Foyth, and you probably get Ben Davis and maybe even Kyle Walker-Peters. He's going to have to change it up because that same lot can't go on. So we're all expecting a sort of relatively comfortable City win. One thing we know, it cannot be as dramatic as what happened on Wednesday night. We'll be back with more after this.
Right, 10 seconds to promote Paddy Power Games. Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games. Advertising. It's easy when you know how. Paddy Power. Enough of the nonsense. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Football Postcast. It's time for the rapid part of the show as we whiz through the 3 o'clock selection. So it's worth bearing in mind as well, actually. It hasn't been a Premier League draw now for over a month. So we are due some stalemates, but clearly teams are going for it at the moment. It's pretty incredible, really, how long we've not had a draw. So we'll do this in order. So what we'll get, Emmett, is your Paddy Power prices, then your view, and then we'll come back to the studio. So we'll start it all off. It's Bournemouth against Fulham.
Yeah, so Bournemouth are 8-13, the draw 16-5, and Fulham 7-2. I found Fulham pretty frustrating all year, and not just because I backed them for top 10, etc., etc. They've far too much attacking talent to have performed as poorly as they have done. And we saw glimpses of what they can do last week. Like, if you compare Fulham's squad to Cardiff, there's no way Cardiff should be 11 points above them in the league and battling for survival. I wouldn't trust Bournemouth at the price here, especially because I expect Fulham to be motivated, and Scott Parker especially. And Bournemouth have drawn recently at home to Newcastle and were defeated by Burnley. I like the look of both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 5-6. I'm expecting an open game here with two of the worst defences in the league, and fairly confident this will click with both teams have pretty good attacking talent as well.
Okay, I'm going to go for Callum Wilson to score first. He scored in 11 different Premier League games and got a couple against Fulham in the reverse fixture. Aaron, what's your best bet?
Yeah, I second that with Emmett. Both teams scoring over 2.5 for me. I think Fulham have definitely improved performances under Scott Parker. They clearly enjoy playing for him, playing with a lot more freedom as well. But at the same time, 76 goals conceded and just 2 points on the road from 17 matches. You can't see them keeping a clean sheet against a Bournemouth side that of only the top 6 have managed to score more goals than them this season. So for me, yeah, goals all over.
Okay, Liam?
Actually, I'm happy enough to back Bournemouth here. I think that they're going into that game off the back of a emphatic win over Brighton, and 7 of their 12 wins this season have come at home. I think they definitely, I think playing at home caters to their style a lot more, and the link-up play we saw between Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson, I think they can just cut Fulham apart. Fulham were okay against Everton in that win, but I think it was more a case of Everton being a little bit wasteful with their chances. Had 9 shots in that game, so they certainly had the chances to put that game to bed. And yeah, I thought I like the look of Bournemouth.
Okay, Huddersfield v Watford, Emmett.
Huddersfield are 16-5, the draw is 13-5, and Watford are 5-6.
Happy enough to back Watford odds on?
Not quite, just only because of the issues with Troy Deeney obviously be suspended for this game, and I'm not sure if Jared Delafeu will play as well. He was injured on Monday, and if they have like Andre Gray and Isaac Success up top by themselves, that's definitely a downgrade from what Watford are used to and what the price is based on. So the way I'd look here would be both teams to score no. It's clicked in 11 of Huddersfield's 17 home games, and given Watford's potential absences up front and Huddersfield's lack of quality, this looks a decent price to me.
Okay, I'm prepared to back Watford. Huddersfield lost 19 in the last 21. I've just thought they were absolutely dreadful at Tottenham for most of that game. Since he's dropped Lossell, Jorgensen and Billing. Moy was on the bench. Very strange team selection. So I'm going Watford. Aaron?
Completely agree. Happy to back Watford at 5-6. I think, Deeney suspended is not ideal. I've read that they're quite confident Delafeu might be back, which will be a big positive because he missed the Arsenal game. And yeah, I mean, the Terriers, no player has scored more than 3 goals for them this season. 2 goals will be enough to win this. So yeah, I fancy Watford.
Liam?
Yeah, echo everything that's just been said. Watford for me as well. I think there's plenty of motivation for them to keep winning matches, even with the cup final on the horizon, because obviously I got maybe 2 potential paths to Europe, chasing that 7th place finish as well. And with, as you said, obviously Jan Sievert, obviously there's perhaps been a little bit of a falling out with that Danish trio. So yeah, Watford for me.
I think it's quite interesting. I think Javi Gracia doesn't want what's happened to Watford in just about every year that we can remember, where they get themselves safe and then get the flip-flops on, and all of a sudden the manager's under pressure the following year because they finished the season poorly. It's West Ham against Leicester. Emmett, how do you see this one? Looks a tricky one to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So West Ham are 9-4, the draw 23-10, and Leicester 11-10. I think West Ham could have improved from their recent slump in form last week, and they were very unfortunate to lose to Man United. I think they're definitely a better team without Marko Arnautovic at the moment, who doesn't look fully committed to the club, despite signing a new contract in January, which I think West Ham might regret. Leicester were frustrated by Newcastle last week, and it's worth mentioning, although they've improved under Brendan Rodgers, their wins have been against Fulham, Burnley, Bournemouth and Huddersfield. And given all that, I think probably 5-4 looks a little short here on Leicester. So I'd go for West Ham at 7-5, draw no bet.
Yeah, I'm slightly tempted by West Ham, I think, at the price. I mean, though, I'm just going to play it safe. I think this could be a nice one for the both teams to score Ackers. But if I was having a 90-minute bet, I'd much rather be on West Ham. Aaron?
Yeah, I think Leicester are far too short. I think they have clearly improved, but they've been bullying weak opposition. I think they got found out by Newcastle. And West Ham, their home form this season, they've beat Arsenal, beat United, drew with Chelsea, drew with Liverpool. I think, they're solid at home, and I think they play better against better opposition. So, I'd fancy West Ham.
Liam, do you see this one differently?
I'll go in goals this one. I think both teams scoring over 2.5 goals. I think these are two of the teams in the Premier League are the toughest to call. In one week they're phenomenal, the next week they're dreadful. I think you look, both teams have scored in 21 of Leicester's 34 league fixtures this season. West Ham at home recently conceded to Fulham, 3 against Huddersfield, 2 against Everton. But obviously they offer plenty going forward to the likes of Arnautovic, Anderson, Lanzini. So I think there could be goals in this one.
Okay, well, nobody's tipping any draws yet, so that the run may continue. Wolves versus Brighton, Emmett. I mean, we're all pretty negative about Brighton and their survival hopes. I mean, this is a absolutely massive game for Chris Hughton. Is he going to get anything out of it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Wolves are 4-6, the draw is 23-10, and Brighton are 9-2. As has been well documented, Wolves have actually struggled against the sides in relegation trouble, and they're obviously poor against Southampton last week. They looked pretty disorganised defensively, which they usually don't do. They were struggling with Southampton's pressing game and getting caught, not pushing out after set pieces. However, Brighton have been very, very poor for a while, and they try to play a bit more of an attacking style against Bournemouth. They got completely hammered, and I think Wolves should be probably a bit shorter here, so I'm happy to just play Wolves 4-6.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Wolves to try and boost that price, either Wolves to win to 0 or maybe 1-0, 2-0 correct scores. Brighton, no goal in 5. And I think Wolves' performance at Southampton last week probably owed something to that FA Cup semi-final hangover, which I think there are excuses for that performance. Aaron, happy enough to take 4-6 about Wanderers?
I'd be quite cautious about backing them at that price, to be honest. They've lost twice to Huddersfield. They've lost at Cardiff, Burnley and Brighton. Drew at Fulham and needed a last-minute equaliser to get a point against Newcastle. I'm just worried about that. That stat alone, I'm just really worried about it. So I'd be going for 0-0 at half-time. Brighton failed to score in the last 5, and Wolves have been level at the break in 5 of their last 6 at home. 3 of which have been goalless, so I'd take 0-0 half-time.
I think Chris Hughton would take that right now as well at full-time. I
think I think they'll go back to basics, Brighton. I think they'll just try and keep tight, stay in the match for as long as possible, and just try and nick results. So.
Okay.
I'm going to go for a first draw of the show. I think I'm going to go between Wolves and Brighton. Yeah, I do think I'd still probably think that 5-2 about Brighton going down is a good price. But in this game, I just think, as we said, this is exactly the kind of game that Wolves struggle with. As we saw, I said going into that Southampton game last week that they don't like having a lot of the ball. They prefer to counter-attack against teams, and Brighton are likely to allow them a lot of possession. Wolves losing 3 of their last 4. I think obviously Brighton have been sucked into that relegation battle, but they definitely take a point from this game, I think. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the boost of Pascal Gross-Solly March back in that team certainly improves their attacking threat. So I think a draw in this one.
Okay, and then on to the 5:30 game. It's on BT Sport. Newcastle against Southampton. I mean, both teams will. I suppose BT will probably sell this as both teams are in a relegation battle, but we've heard the relegation odds look pretty safe enough. Emmett, some prices, and how do you see this fixture?
Yeah, so Newcastle are 7-5, the draw 2-1, and Southampton are 21-10. Southampton were kind of rewarded for playing extra forward against Wolves, and they produced one of their best performances of the season. Oriol Romeu dropped out, and Josh Sims came into kind of a front 3 with Danny Ings and Nathan Redmond, and they were very, very potent in attack, and unlucky not to even score more than the 3 goals they did score. Newcastle frustrated Leicester, as is their wont, and denied a very talented kind of forward line time and space. I think this will be a very, very even game. So I think I'll probably look at a couple of goal score bets. There's some 11-2 out there, Rondon to score first, which I think is definitely worth backing. Jason has mentioned on the pod before about the high percentage of Newcastle's goals that Rondon scores, and he's been unfortunate not to score in his last 3 games. Also, if Josh Sims starts in the same position that he did last week, he's worth looking at a 5-1 any time. He missed a couple of excellent chances against Wolves, but the positions he took up running beyond Danny Ings should see him go close again.
Oh yeah, and also while you mentioned Jason Murphy there, all worth giving him a shout out because he did tip Ajax at 100-1 on the postcast at the start of I think it was sort of between the group stage and then the knockout phase, and I know that the regular presenter Bruce Millington followed him in on that and is getting rather excited. It's a shame it's going to end at the semi-final stage. But Liam, how do you see this one?
Yeah, it's a very tough one to call with both sides not really got a lot to play for, but I think Southampton probably a little bit more motivated to finish the season strongly. They've been excellent under Hassan Hutel of late. I think he's talked about wanting to build that team around Højbjerg, and I think he kind of acts as that midfield base, and then he's allowed James Ward-Prowse and Nathan Redmond to sort of express themselves, and as a result we've seen them both scoring lately. But you look at Newcastle, they have been playing on the front foot more of late, and they've been rewarded for it. 11 shots against Leicester, 18 shots against Palace, probably deserve to win that game. And I think because they're playing that way now, and the fact that they've probably they've secured safety pretty much, they could get caught on a counter attack. We look at Southampton, they beat Wolves with 30% possession, beat Brighton with 39% possession, beat Spurs with 36% possession, so they're a good counter-attacking side under Hasselhoff. So at the prices, I'd take them. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm going to go for Southampton, draw no bet. I mean, in Newcastle, I do respect the home form, only one defeat in 6, but I just think Southampton's such a poorly managed team beforehand. It's been mismanaged a couple of times, and it was a good job to get. They're 4 defeats in this year, and 3 of those have come against Arsenal, United and Liverpool. They've beaten Tottenham, they've beaten Arsenal, they've drawn with Chelsea, give Liverpool a scare as well. I think that they're a team to watch out for next season. I'm hoping that they continue to lay the foundations. They're a team I like to back. Aaron, what's your best bet?
I think the prices tell you all you need to know about the match, to be honest. There's only 2 points that separate them from the table, and I think a draw will just suit both parties, to be honest. So 2 well-organised sides, I think they could cancel each other out. They drew 0-0 at St Mary's earlier in the season. Yeah, I'm going for a draw.
Okay, well, we'll be back with the Sunday and Monday action next.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log into your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to the Racing Post Football Postcast. I'm Mark Langdon. Joining me in the studio, got Liam Flynn and Aaron Ashley, and on the line from Paddy Power, it's Emmett O'Keefe. And what a big day it could be in terms of the Premier League title race and also the top 4. Going to be a really cracking Sunday. We'll start at 1:30. It's live on Sky, Goodison Park, Everton against Manchester United. Emmett, some prices please, and then your best bet for the game.
Sure. So Everton are 21-10, the draw 23-10, and Man United 5-4. I think Andre Gomez obviously got suspended during the week for a very malicious tackle on Mitrovic last week, and Tom Davis will probably come in for him, and he isn't the same player. So I do think that'll affect Everton's ability to control this game. Maybe you might see Alexis Sanchez possibly come in for United. He actually played quite well coming off the bench. I admittedly had turned over to the Ajax game at that point, but apparently he did play fairly well. You can see Lukaku coming in as well. I just want to make one quick point about David De Gea. He's won United's Player of the Year for the last 5 years, but I don't think he should be winning it this year. Just he's made a few mistakes lately. Against West Ham, he had a poor throw. He had a mistake against Wolves recently for Dean Donker's goal. I watched Valerie's goal and the goal of the month at Matchday at the weekend. He should have saved that as well, really.
What do you think's wrong? Is it just lack of confidence? Is there a technique issue here?
The only thing I would say, just against Wolves, he looked a bit timid and kind of coming out for the ball, which is very unusual for him. I'm not sure. I'm hoping it's just.
I think it's just playing behind Smalling, Jones and Lindelof every week.
Maybe so,
but enough.
To be fair, yeah, that is fair. But I do think actually, to be fair to him, Chris Smalling's actually played quite well recently. Yeah. But yeah, obviously Jones is obviously an issue. Looking at the best bet here, I'd go for the unlikely draw here at 5-2. 23-10. It's the biggest price of the 3 selections. I think it's a pretty big runner and what should be a very close game.
I mean, Everton, absolute nightmare. They played their best game of the season against Arsenal and follow it with an absolute shocker against Fulham. But they only had 1 shot on target at Craven Cottage as well. But I think I'm going to go for them again. I mean, they beat Arsenal at Goodison. They've drawn with Liverpool, and United has 5 defeats in 7 now. And even in the 2 games they won at home to Watford and West Ham, they were outplayed in both of those for large parts. I mean, when you back Everton, you do so with sort of from behind the sofa. You're not quite sure what's going to turn up, but maybe that means they're a better team to back when they're outsiders compared to being odds on like they were last week. So Liam, what's your best bet here?
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm going for Everton as well. I think there's three kind of Jekyll and Hyde teams in the Premier League. I think it's Everton, and we said West Ham and Leicester. They're the three teams that...
Sort of why they are where they are.
Well, exactly. They've got the, you'd think some of those teams are probably a few players away from competing for that top six, but the consistency lets them down. And I think, but that said, Everton's best performances I think have been at Goodison Park. Successive clean sheets there against Liverpool in a very tight Merseyside derby, beat Chelsea there, beat Arsenal there, as you said, one of the performances of the season. Again, against Fulham, I think it was just wasteful with their chances, 9 shots, only 1 on target. So they did have opportunities in that game. And I just get the feeling this United team are just going to kind of plod along until the end of the season. And 5 defeats in the last 7, as you said, and those 2 performances against Watford and Wolves weren't really convincing. And I think defeat here, could spell the end of those top 4 hopes.
Okay, a couple of questions, Aaron, for you before we get on to your best bet. I mean, United top 4?
No, not for me. No, I think the appointment of Ollie, the timing, I don't think it was quite right.
Okay, that was going to be the second question. I mean, really, in terms of Solskjaer, should he be starting to get a little bit concerned about his job, or I can see next season. I mean, we've spoken about it on the podcast before. That next season, like if they start badly or averagely, there, it will be raised that have United done the right thing?
The problem is with United, they've had so many managers recently, since obviously Fergie, they've just not been able to keep hold of a manager. They've been paying a lot of money, and Solskjaer was quite a cheap option, wasn't he? So it's one of those where he was, at the time, what he was doing, it was right, but I think they should wait till the end of the season if they're going to give him a job and see how the season pans out, because they haven't actually achieved anything, if we're going to be honest. They're not actually in top 4 yet. They might not get top 4, and the Champions League out in the quarters, so...
Okay.
It was very odd timing as well. I know, like Dan Child said on one of these podcasts, I think that but before they'd appointed him, they had a very tricky run in the Premier League coming up. They had that 2-legged tie with Barcelona. If you appoint him now, the chances are they're not going to win all of those games, and then it's going to reflect very badly on the decision. That's exactly what's happened.
So for those that are watching, I just caught a glimpse of Pochettino over Liam's shoulder there, and it just brought on a massive smile to my face. So, Aaron, what's your best bet in this?
Yeah, I'd be with Everton. I think Everton want to play a Big Six rival, and they want to play them at home. I think, like you say, 3 clean sheets in a row: Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea at home. United have got to be vulnerable. They've lost 4 consecutive away games, and West Ham and Watford, they outplayed them at Old Trafford. I'd be worried for them.
Okay, so maybe not a great day for Manchester United fans, but whatever happens at Goodison, they'll be cheering on Cardiff and hoping that Liverpool can come a cropper there. Emmett, some prices please, and your best bet.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, so we've Cardiff 14-1, the draw 11-2, and Liverpool 1-6.
14-1, a little bit big, or is this just going to be a rollover job?
I think Cardiff, they haven't taken a point off any of the Big Six this season. Obviously, they were pretty unlucky not to take at least a point off Chelsea. I could see them maybe frustrating Liverpool for maybe the first half, maybe, but I think it's hard to see them getting out of their own half. And I think eventually Liverpool will grind them down. I think as Bruce Millington tweeted out during the week, and
he's tweeting out a lot at the moment, Bruce. He's getting involved in all sorts of action with Alexis Lalas, wasn't it? Alexis Lalas the other day. Go on, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, Lalas loves to talk as well. So yeah, and Jamie Carragher was also pointing this out, that Mane scored 8 of Liverpool's last 12 first goals in games, and obviously there's some randomness in that statistic. It does go to show how important he's been to Liverpool in the second half of the season, and there's some 9-2 around on him to score first, which I think is worth backing each way. It's also worth mentioning, I think, that Andy Robertson has 9 assists in the league this season, which is joint 5th in the league out of all players, and the second place fullback in terms of assists in the league is his own teammate Trent Alexander-Arnold with 7. And I think both should be very prominent in this game, with Cardiff kind of looking to sit deep and frustrate Liverpool. I think if you can find maybe 10-3 or better on Robertson for an assist, or 4-1 on Trent, I think that's definitely worth backing as well.
Okay, I'm going to go for Jordan Henderson to score first. He's playing in this new advanced role, seems to be suiting him. But I also think that Cardiff deserves an enormous amount of credit, really, for still being involved. I mean, I said on a postcast earlier on this season, I hope they get relegated. That wasn't to do with Neil Warnock or the players or the fans. It was just the way that they were trying to get out of the Salah transfer fee. It didn't just didn't sit right with me at all. I know there's probably legal reasons as to why they're doing that, but it just felt really quite sad, really, that it come to that. But they are battling. Neil Warnock says this is a free hit. If it comes down to goal difference, we're going down anyway. So it doesn't matter if we get absolutely thumped. We're going to give it a right good go. Aaron, have they got the potential to cause an upset here?
No, I don't think they do. They've played the rest of the big six at home this season, and they've lost all 5, and there's been at least 3 goals in the match. So I'm going Liverpool and over 2.5, actually. I think, like you said, yeah, that Warnock comment, I think they are going to go for it. They can, goal difference doesn't matter to them anymore. So if they can get a point, I don't think they're going to sit back and get a point. It's not the way to get a point against someone like Liverpool, and you just let them come on you. It's not the way.
Waiting to die, aren't you?
You are. So I think that won't be the way. I think they're going to actually go for it. So yeah, Liverpool, and I'm not sure they're defending as well as they were earlier in the season as well. They've conceded in their last 4 away victories, including at Fulham and Southampton. So yeah, Liverpool and over 2.5, 8-11 for me. Yeah.
Okay, and Liam.
We'll be hoping for a Liverpool 3-0 win then, because then both of ours are coming. I'm going Liverpool and under 3.5 goals. I think. Like you said, Warnock maybe is a bit of a free hit, but I still think it could be quite a cagey affair. I know you say about Cardiff might look to hit Liverpool, but at the same time, with the awareness of what Brighton have got coming up, I think they look at a point from this game as absolutely massive. Cardiff have actually been quite tight in the games with the bigger teams recently, under 3.5 goals in their last 7 games, marginal defeats to Chelsea and City. And I think as the season draws to a close, it becomes less about performances and more about results. And I think Liverpool will be happy to grind out a result here, especially obviously with their Champions League games coming up as well.
Okay, well there's also a game at 4 o'clock that's not on Sky Sports. It's Arsenal against Crystal Palace. We're speaking before the game against Napoli, which is obviously a big one for the Gunners as they sort of aim to reach the Europa League semi-finals. Emmett, prices please, and a brief verdict on this Emirates clash.
Sure. So Cardiff are 4-9, the draws 10-3, and Palace are 5-1. I think this could be a tricky spot for Arsenal. They obviously have an outstanding home record, but it's going to be their 6th game in 3 weeks. And coming off the back of what I'm expecting to be a tough game in Naples, won't be easy. And they mightn't have the energy to impose their kind of high pressing game, which has obviously been so effective at home all year. And Palace are obviously potent on the break with Zaha, Townsend, Schlupp, Batshuayi, etc. The bet I'd look at here would be Palace over 1.5 goals here, 12-5. I think if Mavropanos, Koscielny, Mustafi, etc., whoever starts out of those centre halves, I think Palace will cause them problems. I mentioned last week as well how Zaha is the most fouled player in the league, 2nd most fouled player in the league as well. So whoever's starting right back for Arsenal, he's worth a look to be carded.
Okay, I'm going to go for Arsenal to win 2-0, 10 home Premier League wins in a row, and they're just a different team at home and away. It's a real weird one. Liam?
I'm going Arsenal on both teams to score. Like you said, there's no secret how good Arsenal are at the Emirates, 10 successive home league matches. I think one of the contributing factors to why Arsenal are so good at home and so poor away is I think Emery doesn't mind starting with Aubameyang and Lacazette together at home with that sort of 3-4-1-2 formation or whatever. And I think Arsenal are a much better team with those two playing up front together. I think it's more balanced, having Ozil in behind and then the wing backs as well. Whereas when we play away from home, tends to go as sort of the 3-4-2-1, and then you'll have like Iwobi and Mkhitaryan behind one of the 2 strikers. I don't think that works quite as well, so maybe that contributes to why Arsenal are quite poor away but better at home. But yeah, I think Arsenal will win, but they have conceded in 5 of those 10 home league wins. Palace typically a danger on the counter-attack with the pace of Zaha, Schlupp, Townsend, and I believe they've scored in 16 of the last 17 matches, so I think Arsenal to win and both teams to score.
Okay, Aaron?
It'd be Arsenal -1 for me, actually, at 11-8. I think the quick turnaround wouldn't even worry me, the Europa League. They've got Napoli, obviously, on Thursday and then 3 days later, because they beat United 3 days after losing at Rennes, and they also beat Southampton 2-0 at home 3 days after beating Barté. So the turnaround doesn't bother me. And yeah, Palace were poor in the 2-0 defeat at Spurs. I think 26 shots to 5, I think it was.
They were.
And yeah, I just think Arsenal, formidable at home, 10 wins, 8 of which were by at least a 2-goal margin. Yeah, -1 for me.
Okay, well, Sacco and Tompkins, I think big losses for Palace at the heart of that defence. On Monday, there's yet more sort of teams chasing down that top 4 spot. It's Chelsea against Burnley. Emmett, I'm presuming that Chelsea are pretty short for this one.
Absolutely, yeah. Chelsea are 2-9, the draw is 5-1, and Burnley are 12-1. You'd expect Chelsea to rest Higuain, Hazard, and Callum Hudson-Odoi for the away trip to Prague, and they'll probably all start here. Obviously, Hazard's playing brilliantly lately, and he was very unlucky not to score against Liverpool. But since Christmas, Burnley have scored 12 goals in their 7 away games, including 2 at both Old Trafford and Anfield. And I expect them to score here at Stamford Bridge. So both teams to score at odds against is the way I'd go here. Also, Burnley's Ashley Westwood, I think, is worth a dart at a big price of 18-1 to score anytime. He scored 2 in his last 5 games, admittedly 1 straight from a corner against Liverpool.
Yeah, the XG on that wouldn't have been high.
No, but he did miss 2 1-on-1s against Cardiff as well, and he's on all their free kicks. So I think that's corners, etc. So I think 18-1's a little big.
Okay, I think I've got a couple of bets I quite like here. The time of the first goal market's not up as we speak, but I'd be looking to go over that. It'll be early 20s given the match prices. And Chelsea, we've seen them kind of need a little bit of time to get going in their matches, even in sort of home Premier League games. It's just been a bit of a grind. Another one would be maybe to back the second half to be the highest scoring. There's only been 2 first half goals in Chelsea's last 6 Premier League home matches. I think the way they play through Jorginho, teams have kind of worked that one out and sort of sit back and sort of pat the defence out, or they'll stick someone, man mark Jorginho, and just sort of make it harder for Chelsea to play out. Aaron, have you got a bet for this?
Yeah,
easy game.
No, Ed, a shade of odds on. I think I'll go Chelsea to win 0, to be honest. I mean, people talk about Liverpool's defence and how strong and stubborn it is, but Chelsea have conceded 10 goals at home and kept 9 clean sheets in 17 games themselves. It doesn't really get talked about how well they've been at the back. And if Rudiger, hopefully fit, then if Rudiger's fit, I'll be waiting on team news. I'll be going Chelsea to win 0.
Okay, and Liam?
Yeah, I think Rudiger's been fantastic as well. But I'd go for Callum Hudson-Odoi to score any time in this one. I think Sarri's finally, given into the Chelsea fans slightly by starting him in the Premier League. He's started the last 3 Premier League matches.
Didn't do much at Liverpool,
Chelsea.
did he?
He didn't. He struggled in that one, but against the opposite.
Liverpool away, Burnley at home.
Yeah, exactly. And the games against Brighton, he had 2 shots against Brighton, 2 shots against West Ham. So either side of that Liverpool game, he was okay. I think Burnley's Charlie Taylor, often that's likely the matchup that it will be. He often overcommits to attack, and I think Hudson-Odoi could look to exploit that space in behind. So yeah, Hudson-Odoi to score any time for me.
Higuain came in January and was meant to be the kind of saviour for Chelsea. His goals have come against Huddersfield and Fulham. I mean, one of the most expensive loan captures around. And I mean, he's done no more really than what Morata would have expected to do. So I think we're expecting Chelsea to win, but there's a bit of a difference in the studio as to just how easily it will be done. It's now time for this.
This will not be beaten.
Right, I'll kick it off. League 2, it's Good Friday. Of course, there's a load of matches in the Football League being played on Friday, and then on Monday it's Exeter to beat Crawley. There's 19 points between them in League 2. I'm not even sure Exeter deserve to be 7th in the table. I think they're sort of riding their luck a little bit, but I still expect them to be better than the Red Devils, whose only win in the last 5 came against out of form Yeovil. Liam, what's your nap?
I'm going for Middlesbrough to beat Stoke. Obviously, Middlesbrough's top 6 hopes look to have been dashed after that horrendous run of 6 straight losses, but they've pulled themselves back into it slightly. Wins to 0 over lowly opposition recently. I think Stoke have got little to play for now as the season draws to a close. Languishing in that bottom half, they might have one eye on next season already. And obviously they're put to the sword by Swansea, drew with Rotherham. So yeah, Middlesbrough to beat Stoke.
Really weird one. Stoke haven't played on Good Friday since the 70s. Just a very strange stat that I saw on their local paper website that this week. It's something to do with the fact that there was a church near their old stadium. They weren't able to play then, and then I suppose they're up in the Premier League. Aaron, what's your nap?
I'd go West Brom at a shade of odds on at home to Hull. The Baggies bounced back to a 4-1 win over Preston. Dwight Gale and Jay Rodriguez were brilliant. And yeah, Hull have lost 6 of their last 7 on the road. The only win that they did manage was at Ipswich. And then even then, they managed just 38% possession and lost the shot count 15-7. So I think the chances that West Brom create the attacking quality they have, I think that's a good bet.
Okay, so we've got 3 selections that are taking place on Friday. Emmett, is yours on Friday, and what is it?
It is as well, yeah. So Coventry at home to Bradford. Bradford are bottom of League One, and they've lost their last 6 games, last 5 away as well. Coventry are coming off one of their best results of the season, beating Sunderland 5-4 away from home, and they need to win to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. I think 8-11 is pretty decent value here.
Okay, so we've got 4 selections there. Hopefully it's a very good Friday, never mind a good Friday. Now normally we'd end the show there, but we should have a little brief chat. I mean, we mentioned it earlier on, but it's the Manchester derby on Wednesday. What a game this could be. Emmett, have you got prices already for this game?
Absolutely, yeah. So Man United are 4-1, the draw 7-2, and Man City are 1-2.
1-2 City, does that do it for you?
No, it looks a bit short to me. Again, I've talked recently about their fixture pile up as well. I think Man United as well. Like, they weren't as good as the early run under Solskjaer suggested, but I don't think their recent run again, I don't think they're as bad as that is suggested either. And I just think I couldn't see how City could be shorter than 1-2, put it that way. So I'd probably look to oppose them, not with great confidence, but the price just looks too short to me.
I think +1 Asian handicap Manchester United may be the way to go in this one, even though, I mean, if you have a look, I know home advantage counts for more in the Champions League than what it does in the Premier League, but Barcelona were odds against at Old Trafford, and now we've got City at 2s on. I know there's a bit of feeling that maybe United will roll over because they don't want United, they don't want Liverpool winning the league, but I mean, I'm sorry, I just don't buy that with the players and even inside the stadium. I mean, it might be a consolation if you lose the Manchester derby, but I don't think that it can be a consideration. Aaron, have you got a bet for this game?
I do think City are far too short. I think they just price you out the match, to be honest. It's something they don't really want you to get involved with. But at the same time, I can't see how they're not going to win that game. I just think United's performances recently against West Ham and Watford at home particularly, I mean, better opposition, the way they played there, the chances that West Ham and Watford created, someone like City do that, then they could blow you away, to be honest. So I wouldn't be backing them at 2s on, but
You can understand why they're 2s on. Liam, have you got a bet?
I think if this, like we said, if City are going to slip up in any game in the remaining fixtures, I think it could be this one just because of the occasion. I think the draw is quite big here, to be honest. You can expect United to raise their game in a match of this magnitude. Obviously, they do still have top 4 hopes, to play for whatever we think. City's away results haven't been completely barnstorming. Obviously, they lost the first leg of the Champions League to Tottenham. They edged past Swansea and Bournemouth as well, held by Chelsea and lost to Newcastle. So I think if United raise their game for a game of this magnitude, I think it could be quite nitty-gritty and quite close. So I'm going to go for a draw.
Okay, there could be more pain in store then for Manchester City, a case of so near and yet so far for them. But many thanks to Liam, Aaron and Emmett, and to all of you for listening. Don't forget, if you enjoy these shows, you can rate, review and subscribe. Really helps us along the way. There's Racing Postcast for the Good Friday action, all the weekend, and a Monday review show. Bruce Millington will be back next Thursday with another Football Postcast.
Everything is better when it's bigger. Paddy Power's Same Game Multi allows you to combine a number of selections from a single match into one big bet. Check out the Same Game Multi tab and get building your bet. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.